I think one of the key takeaways from our report is that the planning standards that local governments have been using so far are working. The level of flood damage and inundation that we experience today is not horrible or horrifying in most senses of the word. But what we do see is that all of the communities on the Eastern Shore, not just Talbot County, are eventually going to hit a point where those planning standards don't work anymore. And so it's almost like there's a line that you cross where everything is fine and everything is fine, and then you cross that line and then everything isn't fine anymore. Then you start to see properties and I should say residential properties, local government, businesses, everyone starts to feel the flood inundation a little bit more. And at that point, we need to figure out how we're going to plan differently. And it's important that everyone understands that we need to start planning today so that we're not caught by surprise later on down the road when the water levels do rise. So our report covered the entire Eastern Shore, and we definitely found that some communities are going to be feeling the impacts more substantially than some of the other communities. At this point, I don't think it's a surprise to too many people that Dorchester is sort of first in line in terms of feeling the impacts from sea level rise. You've got a lot of area in South Dorchester, particularly around Blackwater, which is inches above sea level rise, above sea level today. Yeah. And so as water levels rise, the slope of the ground is so gentle. You know, the water rises a little bit and it comes extremely far inland. When you get up to Kent County and Cecil County, the slopes of the riverbanks are so much steeper that when the water level rises 2 inches or 6 inches or whatever, you don't feel it in the same way. Yeah. Dorchester County participates in a program called the Community Rating System. And through the Community Rating System, communities here on the Eastern Shore, it's predominantly counties, but communities get credit for mitigation and planning activities that they do on a regular basis. Public outreach activities as well, and a whole host of other things. But you get credit for things that you do, which at the end of the day keeps your community safer from flood hazards. And when you reach a certain number of points, your classification increases and the residents in the community get a discount on their flood insurance premiums. It's a win-win. You know, communities are doing things that are smart to do to keep people safe, and the residents save money as a result. Dorchester County was, up until the end of 2018, a Class 8, which is pretty common to see for communities on the East Coast, not just here on the Eastern Shore, but all up and down the Atlantic seaboard. Class 8 is a very normal rating, and they bypassed Class 7 altogether and got bumped up to a Class 6. And this is because of very aggressive documentation of activities that are being done, particularly within their planning office and with their emergency services office. There is a window of opportunity for the Eastern Shore. It may be closing, but it's still open. Yeah. So we need to act now. We need to get the message out. We need to get people feeling passionately about this. We need to get people engaging with their elected officials about this. And when I say elected officials, I mean everybody from, you know, town representation, state, federal. It needs to be a coordinated effort. The problem, I think so often the problem seems insurmountable because we think about what kind of impact am I able to make as an individual? Not a whole lot. But when you rally your neighborhood together and you say, what can we do to reduce the carbon footprint that my neighborhood has on our community? When you get the entire county talking about, do we want to pass regulations that are going to make sure that people build their buildings higher if they live near the water? That's making an impact. And so you get larger and larger and larger with the people that you organize with, and then you can direct real change. So Saturday, March 23rd is the 3rd annual climate conference hosted by the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy. Our theme this year, I guess, is Rise and Thrive, creating America's most resilient rural region. And so the idea is what we were just talking about, the regional focus and how this is such a community here on the Eastern Shore. And all of the challenges that we talk about that climate change brings to us. The single greatest opportunity that I see is this really, really cool, incredibly connected community of people here on the Eastern Shore. And so when you think about all of the different hats that people wear, it's hard to say you are a business owner, or you are a volunteer, or you are a parent or community leader or anything else. It's all of us together. And so I think that the Eastern Shore is in a natural, logical place to be a leader across the country in creating resilience and sort of building this idea of climate adaptation into our DNA, in how we do business, in how we govern, and how we live our lives.